Thanks for staying with us. So close to 1 week now, there has been allegations and counter-allegations concerning the past comments and ministrations made by the Honorable Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Sheikh Ali Pantami. The renowned Islamic cleric turned minister in the time past made comments that seem to be sympathetic to the plight of terrorist groups like Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda, which many Nigerians are now calling for his resignation. Now, we're supposed to have with us the hashtag Pantami now, hashtag resign now. The person who started out as David Hudain and one of the leaders of all the, who have actually been pushing for his resignation. But David Hudain was supposed to join us this morning. Unfortunately, we've been trying to reach him via Zoom, via call. All these numbers are just not going through. We can hear him tweet, but unfortunately, we can't reach him. We'd really like to speak to him because he started this conversation. And I think he dug out.
We can see him tweet.
He dug out.
We cannot hear him.
We can, yes, we are seeing him tweet.
We are seeing him tweet.
Well, we cannot hear him. So, but whilst we're trying to get the connection with him, we'd like to hear your thoughts on this because many have said that, listen, this is from the past. I mean, we all make mistakes. We all say things we do not mean. We all turn a new leaf at some point in our lives. So why are we now condemning this man for what happened in his past? And is it wrong for somebody to say, listen, I'm sorry, that was in the past. Must we bring it to the fore? And how important is it for us to review what he's saying again? Nima would like to start.
As for me, true, people make mistakes in the past and they do change, yes. But the sensitivity of this, and he wasn't talking about Boko Haram at the time. Boko Haram had not started. He was talking about the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, and there are sentiments across boards for Al-Qaeda and Taliban across, and how the U.S. dealt with it. There was self-interest protected by the U.S. that was not the world's interest at the time, destabilizing other people's countries and all of that. Well, true. But for me, this goes to the issue of, for me here, there were sympathetic elites in the north that encouraged the growth of Boko Haram, and it's a fact. And if we find any reason to want to, call a leader out in the north who is among the elite today, I think the person owes us more to answer than just, I have always spoken. I have Christians and everybody in my cabinet or in my work staff, that constitutes my staff, and I've always, it's beyond that. I think there's more that he should, show us, because I was at a time, Ali Ndume was, Senator Ali Ndume was, fingered out at one time saying he was responsible because he said he knew where Boko Haram was and how they were disturbing his constituency in Borno. And he did more than just tell us, I'm not in support, to prove that he wasn't in support of what they did. He showed us how he was a victim. In fact, I always must commend Senator Ali Ndume for letting us know that Boko Haram was not just a religious,
sect.
A religious insurgency at the time, because it was meant to seem like they were anti-Christians and not Muslims. It was because of Senator Ali Ndume's expose that I knew how much Muslims within Borno also suffered it. So this was an insurgent, but we were coloring it with religion, and we're missing the point. Right. So for me, if his sympathies did not lie with Boko Haram, and there's that video, there's more that he has to do than what he's doing presently. Mary,
let me come to you.
First of all, for me, I'm saying these allegations are heavy allegations. And anyone who has been accused this way, if I were the person, I would do everything in my power to make sure that I clear my name. We sit down here every day talking about insecurity. Boko Haram has taken different forms, different factions. We're talking of children being kidnapped. And a lot of this insecurity is alleged to have started because of some clerics in the way they have preached, in the words that they have used. Many people felt that some of the things that they said incited, this thing that has grown into the thing that's destroying us today. So if someone has been accused of doing something like that, I think that person should come out definitely and explain themselves. He has also said in some of the tweets that we have read, where he said many of the things he started preaching since he was 13, and that many of the things he preached about or talked about were things based on his perception at the time, his exposure, whatever, it happens. And I personally am not for cancel culture, where when people make mistakes in their past, we drag out their past and punish them for it today, even when they have shown promise, they have shown change. But because of the sensitivity of this matter, because of what it has caused, because of how this thing has morphed into such a dragon that is destroying us. I think that the only thing that the minister can do is to come out here and prove to people that he is not part of it. And then for those who are accusing him too, it is on them to give us facts and evidence of what he has done. Because when it comes out that he was not in any way affiliated with this group, there will be consequences. It's important now that we talk about it, because social media is known to bring people, castigate them, try them, punish them, and then the perpetrators, and then it comes out that, oh no, we made a mistake. Because the reason I'm mentioning that is because the first sources that gave the information that he was on a watch list have deleted it, and they said that it's impossible for you to know who is on the terrorist watch list for the USA because they never let it out. So they have deleted it. Some of the newspapers that carried the initial story too have deleted it.
Apologized.
Yes, and apologized. So we need to understand if this is true, then please show us the facts.
Let me come to BC on this. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so for me, I would like to know the agency that's responsible for vetting and doing background checks before somebody is appointed to a DSS. So I would expect that the DSS would have done a thorough check before giving, before the presidency appoints you into this sort of position. Because, the reason we sit here and we advise people to be very careful of what you put out there right now. Because in a few years' time, when you have gotten serious about life, it could come back and bite you. This is just a case of what is happening. And if peradventure they had done a proper background check and they saw some of these things that they were not clear about, why didn't they make it known? Why didn't they present it? Why didn't we have an opportunity to say, okay, well, he said this so time, but his capacities, he'll be able to handle the job, or maybe he has changed. Now it's seeming like they found out he had a sort of sympathy towards Al-Qaeda and the other group, and he was still giving that position. Now, the position he's holding is a very sensitive one that has to do with the data of everybody in the country. We already have a problem of the military allegedly being compromised, where instead of them to go out, in the papers this morning, I took that one informant had been arrested, and the army is going to investigate and prosecute and likely get more people who give information. So if you have such a sensitive position where you are dealing with the data of the people, how do we trust with what is out right now that the lives of Nigerians are not in danger?
Exactly.
So you need to, if you have to pay attention to morals and all of that.
That's such an important part of this, because that's the crux of this conversation. But nobody's against you making mistakes in the past. But if you're holding such a sensitive position where we've all talked about the fact that we are unable to trace these terrorists for whatever reason. We're hearing from, is it Dubai or which country where they're tracing the funders. But within the country, we are not able to trace where the money is going. We can't find out we can't even trace the numbers of these people. So could this be one of the reasons? Because the person at the helms of affair might be compromised. So these are questions Nigerians are asking, that such a sensitive position should not be given to somebody who has such a history. Now, going back to the role of DSS, do they even screen anybody at all? Are they even know what they are meant to do? Do they even let the presidency know? Do these people have information of who they bring into power to run certain positions? I'm not sure there is.
Yeah, for me, to bring the question of the sort of screening that we do, I know that we watch them on TV with the legislative, the National Assembly, and sometimes some of the questions I find quite ridiculous, but that there's no security screening of these people. And even if it was a point where I'm wondering if they had screened the appointees, it would fall on the table of the House of Assembly, and they would read through it, they would ask questions, and probably also because of that information, make further investigation. So for me, I'm thinking that maybe we do not actually do that form of screening for our appointees.
We do and ignore.
No, but I know they do, because the former EFCC boss, the screening they did for him, it was what eventually got him to
Let me take this call. I'll come to you. Chakwa, are you there from Surulere? Oh, I'm so sorry we lost that call. So
for me, it's beyond... what I can't prove, I don't push further. So whether it's a chain man and he's at the helms of our affairs, and he's controlling or using, we can't prove. So I don't push further. But that you even had at one point in time such sentiments is scary. We're talking about loss of lives, people, people killing, people retaliating, killing. I remembered when we were on the couch, when we were talking about, when the big guy from the north, the former ex-military general,
is it Danjuma?
Danjuma said, help yourselves, go out and defend. I kept saying, you cannot, allow people just resort to self-help and we get to this kind of point. If you ever at one point justify such sentiment of just kill, or that people are, you must at all points, because he had always been a leader. At 13, if you can preach, you've been a leader. How about teaching people balanced thoughts? Asking, these lives that they're taking, is it allowed? I would have loved him because it's also in the Quran that if you take a life, you take the whole, you take the whole of mankind life unjustly. If you take a life unjustly, I would have loved him to say, this is not fair. I would have loved to hear from him, the way I hear from Nuruddin Lemu, how it is important to respect the places of worship, all the synagogues, how in the Quran, it was the saying of the prophet. In his saying, if I hear it.
Right.
So this sort of, trying to make sense and play, allow victim be played is something that I think we should be careful about. The sympathies of the elites encourage the growth of Boko Haram up north.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that statement.
Of the elites.
Move on to a gentleman from Yola. Aminu, are you there?
Yeah, Madam.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, we should be very careful on what we are saying, what we are doing, and how we portray things in Nigeria. It's very, very important. We have to be very careful. Sheikh Pantami has never for once preached in English in Nigeria. He only preaches in Hausa. And I am sure, and I am absolutely sure, Mariam sitting down there cannot translate Hausa perfectly for anybody in the South to understand what exactly Sheikh Pantami was saying. And we are coming from a position that by around 2001, when America attacked Afghanistan, it was a divide between Muslims and the Crusades. That's what Bush said that time. So all Muslims at that time are on one angle of the world, and the Christians were on the other angle. So we should be very careful of what we are dealing of. We should be very, very careful. We should be very mindful of the emotions that are running out in this country. We are trying to plunge this country into a situation that we cannot contain. We should be very careful, please.
So hang it. So thank you very much, because I know Mariam did mention that when she heard it, for us, it wasn't as indicting as social media made it. So let's be fair. You're very correct. Let us speak with both sides. So Mariam, if you can just help us on that.
Yes. So there are actually many audio and videos that are out there, but the only one that I have listened to, and I think you shared, and I told you people, he was at a lecture, so it's public lecture, and he was explaining in that he was talking about the history of how the Taliban started, what their motives were, and where it finally ended up being. He also talked about he also made it important. He says, when you hear about a certain person or a certain sect, or you hear about the Taliban, you need to be sure, you need to also understand who is telling the story. So who owns the narrative? When America is talking about the Taliban, where are they coming from? Exactly. The Taliban is talking about themselves. Where are they talking from? So yes, he said all that. But I don't know if that's the only thing that he said, because people are going around and talking about many other videos and audio. So I don't know even which one that you're referring to at this time. But also, there's also a part of where he understood about, where he talked about the idols in the Southeast Asian countries, the countries that, this seems to be quite rife. And he talked about the Taliban sort of bringing Islam to that place and taking away of those idols, which, for many people who are Muslims, think is the right thing to do. And he showed his sympathy for them evangelically in that sort of way. So that's what I understood from the video that I saw. But these accusations that are being leveled and talking about his involvement in some way, or his sympathy towards Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, and Taliban, which is different from the video that audio that I heard. But
okay, let me now link that to our guest, because I'm told our guest is here now, because he practically started this conversation. Mr. David Hudeni, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yay. Are you there? Finally, we can see you.
Thank you.
So, tell us exactly why you thought it was important to bring out this this conversation generally, that the whole, and the fact that some people are saying that what he said really wasn't really indicting, that social media just went crazy over what he was alleged to have said. Would you give us your own version?
Well, obviously, some people would say that because some people have been mobilized to say that. It doesn't mean what they're saying is true. I mean, if you have a functioning pair of eyes, which I believe we all do, and you actually read the articles, you read what was written, you listened to the audios, read the translations, which, by the way, I didn't come up with. They were translated by native Hausa speakers and by an academic that specializes in contemporary Islamic studies. Her name is Andrea Brigaglia at the University of Cape Town Center for Contemporary Islam. So this wasn't something that came out of David Dane's head. This is established academic fact. Right. So I'm not sure where this idea is coming from that what we all saw, we didn't really see it. And again, this reminds me of the same kind of media game that was played at the end of the NSAS protests, where all of a sudden there was this mass gaslighting effort to try and convince everyone that what we saw, we didn't really see it, and it didn't really happen. And I'm not really here to engage with any with that kind of reasoning. What I will say, though, is that going back to your first question, that why did I think it was important to engage with this issue? Why do you think it's important for somebody sitting in your federal cabinet, in your federal executive council, someone who has access to all of your most private personal data as a Nigerian citizen? Why do you think it's important for that person to not have links to the literal world of terror? Exactly. So I guess I've answered your question with a question. It's one of the most sensitive positions in the country. So I don't think it's expecting too much to expect that there must be at least some base level of ethical standards for the person who occupies that position. I don't think Nigeria has a shortage of qualified people to be in that position, qualified people who haven't been linked to terror and who haven't made those horrible statements that we all saw. But people haven't come out to defend the honor of the Afghan Taliban, which, by the way, was one of the most brutal terrorist outfits ever conceived, David, even more so than Boko Haram.
Okay, let me get a few more questions.
David, like I said, the sentiments for or against the Taliban and the issues are political, so I don't want to join issues there. But I would like to ask you, the admission of the minister that, you know, these were said in my past and I'm a different person today is what I wanted to bring to. I mean, what do you make of that as, you know, as we move in the scheme of things now?
You agree with?
Well, that is, first of all, he did this thing where, and he always does this, by the way, where he tried to be cleverly disingenuous. He hinted that it had something to do with being a teenager. He said, I started preaching when I was 13, and I made some of those comments when I was a teenager. Well, the speech in question, Suwaye and Taliban, was made on September 12, 2006. Isa Pantami was born on October 20, 1972, which means that on September 12, 2006, Isa Pantami was 33 years and 11 months old. That's not a teenager. The person that is talking right now is 31 years old. So what exactly did he mean by he's a changed man and that was something in his past and blah, blah, blah? He was 33 years old. And by the way, 2006 wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
So he's lying through his teeth, as he regularly does. And then, as I analyzed in an article that I did yesterday, the idea that he doesn't act in those manners anymore, he doesn't do those things anymore, he's a different man now, it's clearly not true. I mean, I raised the example of the TV station, which has been given exclusive rights by the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy to broadcast official events organized by that ministry. It's not TVC. It's not, you know, a recognized mainstream TV station. It's an Islamic TV station that broadcasts Islamic-only content. It's not an Islamic-influenced TV station. It's an Islamic TV station. It's a religious TV station. It's like somebody going to contract Emmanuel TV by Pastor T.B. Joshua to come and start covering official federal government events. Where does that happen? What is the only reason that such a thing would happen? This TV station in question doesn't even have a functioning website, right? And to tell you how bad it is, I actually dug into who runs the TV station. It's not even a northerner. or a Fulani person like Mr. Pantami, the only thing that he has in common with this person is that this person is from the same religion. So that tells you everything you need to know about how Mr. Pantami's mind works, right? This is not a conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. This is not a political narrative. These are simple facts, verifiable, you know, which I really don't have here.
Well, I think we might have to bring you back because we hope to have. Because of the connection issues, we couldn't bring you on early, so we have so many questions for you. We might have to have a second part of this because we need to continue this conversation. We not even started scratching the surface at all, but unfortunately, I have to wrap up this time. Thank you, David, for joining us at short notice, but we'll definitely call you in the soonest to see if we can continue this conversation with you. Thank you very much, David. All right, that's all we can take on the show. See you tomorrow. Sorry about that. I didn't want to ask questions, but we ran out of time. We'll see you tomorrow. We might continue this tomorrow. We'll try to see what we can do. See you then. Bye-bye for now.